Hey everybody, it's John King, and it is Friday the 9th of December. You only have, a little over 2 weeks to finish shopping for Christmas, and the year is over only a week after that. So crazy how time flies. Lots of things are changing, and so I want to catch you up on all of it as much as I can today. First and foremost, if you're getting this on Friday or Saturday morning, you don't have much time to get on your calendar to come see me tomorrow, the 9th, at 11 to 2 at my office in Roseville. Love to see you there. Get pictures with Santa. We're going to have the Grinch there, some elves and some reindeer. You're going to love it. Anyway, beyond that, let's talk about the markets and what's going on. It's a shifting market. You've heard me talking a lot about inflation and employment as being critical components of what has caused the rise in interest rates. Inflation specifically caused the rise in interest rates. But as inflation came down, the Federal Reserve says, yeah, but the fact is we've got employment that's really strong, and that's going to keep the economy going really strong. And so it's only in the last month and a half that we've seen both inflation coming down and staying on its downward trajectory, and we've seen employment start to come down. So there are two major reports every single month. The first one is the unemployment report from the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, and it's called the Non-Farm Payroll Report. It comes out the first Friday of every month, except when the first of the month is on a Friday, like it was last week, and they said, yeah, we don't have enough time with Thanksgiving and everything to get the report out, so we're going to punt to the second Friday. So this morning was the jobs report. And here's what we've had up until this morning. We had a report on Tuesday that said, hey, there were lots of job openings, and that shows that there's maybe some problems with the economy and with the number of people who are looking for work. When there's lots of job openings, that means that there aren't as many people looking for work, and that's not good for the economy. It means that you have some challenges that could be coming in the future. And then we had more jobs reports that said, yeah, the job market isn't as strong as we thought it was earlier this week, and interest rates have continued to tick down just a little bit. And then we got our whammy this morning. So our whammy this morning was that the non-farm payroll report was stronger than expected. The economy created more jobs, started employing more people than what the market was expecting. Now, part of it is we had a lot of strikes. A lot of striking union workers in the auto union last month. And so those people came back to work, and those count as created jobs. But the market already expected that. That was part of the forecast. But we created even more jobs. The unemployment rate actually ticked down. There are fewer people unemployed than what there was at the end of last month. So what does that mean? Well, the good news is it wasn't a major shift. As a matter of fact, it might actually be a really, really good sign. So the second report that we talk about every month is the inflation report. That comes out next Tuesday. That's going to be a really big one. Now, if inflation ticks up, all bets are off. But the market right now is kind of holding steady. We saw this morning's jobs report cause a little bit of an uptick in mortgage rates, but not as much as we might fear. But Tuesday's reports from the inflation report is going to be a big deal. So is the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve is getting together next week. They're going to be deciding if they're going to raise interest rates, keep interest rates the same, or lower them. But remember, the Fed only controls the interest rates that are charged for 1 day. They don't control 30-year rates. They don't control 15-year rates. They influence them, but they don't control them. So the market for the 30-year rates is trying to predict, hey, what's the Fed thinking? What are they going to do? And there's a lot of misinformation out there. There's a meme going around on Facebook that says the Fed is planning on dropping interest rates 6 times in 2024. The Fed has said nothing of the sorts. That is not a fact. It's been spread as if it was fact. It's fake news. The Fed is saying, hey, we're holding firm. It's Wall Street. It's the bond markets that have said, yeah, we think finally, Mr. Fed President, you're going to have to give in. You're going to have to start lowering interest rates. But don't think that means rates are going back down to 4. Lowering interest rates, we're tickling the high 6s right now, maybe low 7s, way better than the high 7s and low 8s that we were looking at a month and a half ago. But gang, we're not back in the territory of ticker tape parades and everybody celebrating that rates are back down. But what we are in is the territory of people saying, hey, at least they aren't going up anymore. Hey, at least it's better than what my best friend got last month. And that's going to cause more people to come out of the woodwork, specifically after the holidays. And so I want to talk about kind of what I see in the big picture of markets. And here's the deal. We've been in a market for the last 12 to 18 months that has really been first-time home buyer focused. It's been a lot of cash, which is not first-time home buyers, but the other segment that's really been active is first-time home buyers, people who have small down payments, they need closing cost credits because they've been able to get them. And I've been telling you all along, this is a great market to get that. The problem is that's going to start to slow down. Why? Because there aren't enough homes for sale. You've heard me say this 100 times. There aren't enough homes for sale for the number of people that want to buy and live in a home. And as the people start coming back onto the playing field and saying, I wish rates were back at 3 or 4%, but 6 is better than 8, so I'll buy now because, well, I'm finally going to listen to John and I'm going to do what he said and I'm going to buy before rates come down too much. But guess what? You're now part of the rest of the crowd because the rest of the crowd is thinking the same thing. And so what's going to happen is we're going to lose the ability to get seller credits. I'm closing a transaction next week that is an almost $400,000 home that we've got the seller paying 6% towards the closing costs and buying down the interest rate, and he's getting down payment assistance. They're literally coming into the house with about $500 out of pocket on a $400,000 home in the Central Valley. So there's a lot of opportunity, but that door, it's closing. And it's closing simply because of supply and demand. And so that next market, I think a lot about the future. I hope to give you some information about what's happening in the current, but also what's happening in the future. That next market, it's going to be some pent-up demand of move-up buyers. It's going to be some pent-up demand of people that weren't willing necessarily to take on even a 5% interest rate as rates went up because they're like, man, I got 2.5. Well, we're going to stop at 5 and come back down to 4, and I'll do it when it gets back down to 4. And that didn't happen. Kept going up and kept going up and kept going up. But I think next year as rates start to stabilize, those people are going to say, okay, I'm willing to do this. Now, why weren't they willing to do it on the way up? Because you have to understand, and maybe you're in this case, maybe you know somebody that's in this situation. If you're selling a home, you don't get to lock in the interest rate on the home that you're buying until you've basically got your home sold. And what if in the meantime, you put your house on the market in June of 2023, rates right then, let's call it, they're at 6%. And then you get an offer in July and you get into contract. And now you go shop for a home that you're going to find is a replacement home. And the home that you find is a replacement home, you get into contract on July 15th. And on July 15th, rates are at 7.25%. And now, wait a second, this isn't affordable anymore. What I thought I was trading a 3% rate for a 6%. Okay, I was willing to bite that bullet, but I'm not willing to bite the bullet because it went to 7.25%. And because we hadn't seen rates stabilize, people feared that, you know what, this isn't a good idea for me to make my family be at risk of being homeless. And so people didn't make that move. Well, that's our next market. Our next market, and I think it's a pretty small market, and I'll explain what I mean by that, but the next market is people who they've outgrown their home, or their current home is way too big for them. And they're in a position where they're saying, you know what? I just need to make a move. I don't have a choice. I've got to make a move. And at least I know that rates have stabilized to the point that if I project my payment today based on a 6.5% or 7% interest rate, I can reasonably expect it's going to be around that number. That stability is what we've been missing, and that stability is what I think we're going to see going into 2024. I do think we'll see interest rates coming down, but I don't know how far. There's a report out there from U.S. News and World Report that talks about what they project interest rates to be through the end of 2024 and into 2025. And they're talking about rates being in the 5s and even by 2025, talking about maybe rates being in the 4s. Maybe that's the case. But every incremental drop in interest rate is that many more buyers that are trying to buy, and it's going to make it more difficult for you to get your offer accepted. Now that market, I say it's going to be a short market. And the reason why is because I can clearly see the market that's coming after that. And the market that's coming after that is smaller homes, lower priced homes, multifamily homes. It's kind of a movement back away from what we've been doing for the last 25 years. Starting back in the 2000s, McMansions were the thing. Everybody needed to have a 3,000, 3,500, 4,000 square foot home. and they wanted to have, a big driveway and a big yard and all this stuff. Guess what? The problem is people can't afford that at today's interest rates. At today's prices where they've gone up, it's just unattainable. Until wages catch up, people can't afford to spend that kind of money. Now, if you got a home years ago and you have a 3.5% or 2.5% interest rate on that home, good for you. But a lot of people are saying, I don't need that big of a house anymore. And so this whole thing I've been talking about over the last couple of weeks of the missing middle, I'm going to be talking about that a lot going forward, because the missing middle it's not happening yet. We're seeing it. We're seeing regulation move that direction. But the reality is it's going to take time. It's going to take time to get all the ducks in a row, literally ducks lined up. We're talking about the regulatory agencies that are necessary to make this viable. But hear me out. This is absolutely a coming market, and I see it coming in about 2 to 3 years, that we're going to see a lot more action on accessory dwelling units or tiny homes in your backyard. We're going to see a lot more action in people converting their basement into a separate unit. I've got a beautiful home. I've got a basement, a finished basement. The truth is, at some point in time, I could turn this finished basement into a separate living area and just seal off or lock off the top of the stairs, put a kitchen down here, and put a door on the side that somebody could come from the side of the house, and I could rent this out as a separate unit. I could sell it. There's a law, the state of California just passed a law 2 months ago that says I can sell a portion of my house that is a separate unit, whether it's me walling off my basement and having it have a kitchen and a bathroom and a dining area and a bedroom, or I could have a separate standalone house, an accessory dwelling unit, in-law quarters, whatever you want to call it, and I can sell that as a separate home. Now, how in the world do we do that? Well, it takes a lot of regulatory steps, but it starts with they convert your property into a condo. Now, what's a condo? A condo really is land that's owned by the association, and then units that are owned by individual people. And that's really what you're going to do to your home if you want it, or what people are going to do to their homes is they're going to say, okay, so instead of having one legal description that covers the land and the buildings, we're going to have 3. We're going to have one description covering the land, another description covering the main house, and a third description covering the separate house, the accessory dwelling unit, the walled off basement that's a separate unit. And so now you have 3 separate things that can be owned by 3 separate people. Now you want to decide, hey, I'm going to stay in the main house. You may decide, you know what? I want to downsize. I just don't want to downsize by selling and getting out of my neighborhood. And so maybe I'll downsize and move into the house in the backyard, or I'll move into the basement myself because it's just me now and I don't need this big house. And so you get to choose which one you keep ownership of. You keep ownership of the land. You keep ownership of one of the units. You sell the other one. You can rent it, but this new law says you don't have to just rent it. You can sell it. You literally, somebody else will own that portion on your lot. You own the land. You own one of the units. They own the other unit. The only remaining piece you have to figure out is, well, how do we pay for repairs? How do we pay for the gardener? How do we pay for all this stuff? Well, you have to have agreements. You have to have a shared driveway agreement with a maintenance agreement on who's going to pay for the work when the driveway needs to be repaved. You have to have, maybe you collect a fee and you have it as an association fee or dues that they have to pay $50 a month to help pay their share of the gardening that has to get done. There's lots of ways to look at this. There's lots of intricacies, but it actually isn't that complicated. And it really is the next market, because look, I have so many buyers that make a good income, an average income for the area that they live in, and they can't afford to buy the average home in that area. And many of you are watching this right now and you're one of those people. And you think, how in the world am I ever going to own a home? This is how. The missing middle, buying 1,000 square foot home in somebody's backyard that you have to pay $50 a month for maintenance on top of that. You don't own the land, but you have the rights to use it. That's your solution. And now you buy that for, I don't know, $250,000, even at a 6% interest rate. That's what you can afford. That's the next market. and I'm going to be at the front end of that. So I'm studying this. I'm getting the loan products that are necessary for it. I'm super, super excited. Speaking of loan products, we're going to be launching some new loan products later on this month. So stay tuned because I've got some super, super exciting products to share with you. So make sure if you don't already subscribe my YouTube channel, click the notification bell so that you get the notifications on a regular basis. And please don't forget, I try to give really, really good information, but my for-profit business is doing mortgages. So if you or someone you know are looking to purchase a home, purchase an investment property, refinance, or even do a home equity loan or line of credit, please do me the pleasure of reaching out and seeing what I can do to help you out. Thanks so much. Hope everybody has a wonderful weekend, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.